Kia ora and welcome to our weekly check-in with Aotearoa cricketing matters, specifically the Super Smash, where we've had a couple of very interesting game days recently. Northern districts, the Northern Brave men's and women's teams both had wins in Auckland, and the Wellington Blaze, Wellington Firebirds, they both had wins in Christchurch. And the leading thing on my mind after those two game days is Ben Sears, because this dude is bowling very well. He is in fine form. He has 15 wickets in the Super Smash, averaging 17.9, 8.9 RPO. He is the only Wellington bowler who has taken 10 plus wickets. And he has a pretty solid case to be in the Black Caps T20 group. My read on why Ben Sears isn't in the T20 squad right now is that was just he was obviously injured, so he's coming back from injury, and we've seen with how they are slow brewing the likes of Kyle Jamieson, the Will O'Rourke's, Nathan Smith hasn't returned yet. They are giving these seamers plenty of time and avenues to build up to the Black Caps level. So I think they're just slow brewing Ben Sears. And also there is an experience factor that I think the Black Caps want for this T20 World Cup. Like, rightly or wrongly, your opinion, my opinion, who cares? I'm just trying to tell you how I read and assess the situations, because we've seen Adam Milne get injured and Kyle Jamieson stepped up to replace him. So there's still an avenue for Ben Sears to join that squad, filling the Kyle Jamieson travelling reserve spot. And Ben Sears is the best, next best, or perhaps the best T20 bowler available. Come to think of it, it's pretty cool how these dudes work across the formats, because like Kyle Jamieson, Will O'Rourke, their best formats are test bowling, whereas someone like Ben Sears, his best format is T20 bowling, T20 internationals and T20s. He averages 24.7 in internationals and 21.3 in T20 bowling overall. He's already played 22 internationals for Aotearoa in T20 cricket, and he is just quietly in his best season of Super Smash bowling. It's a high for wickets, 15 wickets this season. He took 11 wickets last season, 13 wickets in 21 and 21-22, and he's averaging below 25 in all 6 seasons of Super Smash bowling. He had 18.1 and 16.7 in his first 2 years of Super Smash bowling. Now he's on 17.9. That smells like his best season of Super Smash bowling. The most wickets and the second lowest average of his Super Smash career. And Ben Sears has taken, let's check his tallies per game. 3 wickets, 0 wickets, 1 wicket, 1 wicket, 3 wicket, 1 wicket, 2 wicket, 4 wicket. He's also got 3 not outs in a row, but he hasn't batted in the last 3 games. I think Ben Sears is in dominant form with Wellington. I think Ben Sears is the best candidate to step up to that Black Caps T20 World Cup wider squad in place of with Kyle Jamieson moving up, and I think that's a good spot for him to be in. And I'm not too concerned with what Ben Sears, like, should he be in the Black Caps? Is he not in the Black Caps? Why? Blah, blah, blah. I just want to love the depth we have, because we got someone like Ben Sears hunting more game time for the Black Caps. And there are a few of these dudes who might have slipped a little bit as far as Black Caps rankings goes, or they were struggling for form in the Black Caps, and they've just gone back to domestic cricket and they're just doing their best. Someone like Tom Blundell, he is Wellington's best batter in the Super Smash. 350s. I think he's also got like 340s in a row. This is the thing about New Zealand cricket, the Black Caps pipeline specifically. if you're not in that Black Caps group, if you're not in a Black Caps squad, because there's such a wide variety of players used in these squads, this is how the Black Caps develop players. You need to be dominating domestic cricket because someone else is going to dominate domestic cricket. And if someone else is dominating at that level, you might be struggling to get back into the Black Caps. And when we think about all the seamers who have had opportunities recently across the formats for the Black Caps, whether it's a Michael Ray, a Christian Clark, Zach Folks, Kyle Jamieson getting lots of game time, and maybe a Nathan Smith who's out injured, Ben Sears is there with those dudes competing. Will O'Rourke hasn't played cricket recently, and there are a lot of Black Caps caliber seamers who are in the mix for various squads, not including the veterans like a Lockie Ferguson, Adam Milne, still in the T20 mixer, maybe not so much anymore. But you need to, if you're a Black Caps seamer, you need to be aiming for the Jacob Duffy level. How about that? And the Jacob Duffy level is below the Matt Henry level. And that level doesn't have the unique style of bowling of a Will O'Rourke, a Kyle Jamieson, and the unique style of Ben Sears, who bowls fast, excellent change-ups. He's a scary bowler, which is always useful. And he's just quietly, he's only played 4 ODIs, but he's got 19.7 average in ODI bowling, and he is in great form in the Super Smash. And while on the topic of Wellington Firebirds in the Super Smash and some ramblings about Black Caps depth, Samuel Morgan's not in Black Caps depth. Oscar Jackson isn't in Black Caps depth, but they are part of this wider Black Caps pipeline that is gathering a lot of very talented cricketers, because Samuel Morgan just hit his second 50 in his second Super Smash game. He has a total of 126 runs at a strike rate of 173 in his first 2 Super Smash games. And the funkiest thing about Sam Morgan opening the batting, well, first of all, he's coming into domestic cricket with a crisp Gun and Moore bat, so you know he's viewed pretty highly by the GM bat maker sponsorship people, because he's one of the only youngsters you see knocking around with a GM bat. A lot of grey nickels, like when you're watching that Canterbury team, half the Canterbury team are grey nickels. And we've also got Oscar Jackson, who I'm about to talk about in a jiffy. I think he is grey nickels as well. Samuel Morgan's rocking that GM bat, and he is hitting like kind of pull shots that appear to be mistimed. They look awkward. They look mistimed. It looks like he's hitting them off the stickers, and they're going over the boundary for 6. He's hitting like he's carving up the offside is the best way to say it. The shots he plays don't necessarily like instantly look like boundaries, instantly look like 6s, but they end up being 6s, they end up being boundaries. And he is kind of like, of course, below the domestic level, everyone knows their best young cricketer in their regions and all this stuff. We got a lot of A cricket, we got a lot of cultural cricket, we got a lot of age group cricket around Aotearoa, where you can see these players, you can check in with what they're doing and gather your own hype about these dudes. But Sam Morgan, at the domestic level, he's kind of come out of nowhere and just smashed boundaries at the top of the order for Wellington. And just the way, like the skills and the freaky talents and the unique way that these players, these young cricketers are performing is very impressive. I'll just break down his first 2 scores a little bit more. He hit 55 runs at the Basin Reserve against Canterbury, 55 runs, strike rate of 167, only 1 6, but he hit 7 4s. And then in another game against Canterbury, this time in Christchurch Hagley Oval, 71 runs, strike rate of 177. Both of those were the highest scores for Wellington, and Wellington won both those games. That shows the impact of Sam Morgan, and he's 22 years old. And unless you're really following the Super Smash, a lot of people will have no idea who Sam Morgan is. But the power, the effortless boundary hitting, the aggression and confidence to do it straight away, but most notably the way he's hitting boundaries, funky style, goofy style, unique style, makes Sam Morgan a very interesting young cricketer to watch out for moving forward, especially when we got a lot of these hyper-aggressive opening batters, your Cartane Clarks, your Jamal Todds, and now also someone like Sam Morgan on the rise. But he's not the only youngster on the rise that we need to watch out for with Wellington, because we also have Oscar Jackson, and there's only 2 batters for Wellington who have strike rates over 160, 10 plus runs, let's say that. Sam Morgan, 173, Oscar Jackson, 176. Not only are they the only Wellington batters who have scored a decent amount of runs, 10 plus runs, with strike rates over 160, they're the only Wellington batters to do so with strike rates over 170. And that shows what Sam Morgan and Oscar Jackson have been doing. For Wellington, Oscar Jackson has 2 not outs in his first 3 Super Smash innings. He started with a 16 not out against Otago, that was down in Dunedin. He hit 16 not out, strike rate of 133. That's a good little warm-up. Then he got a duck in the Basin Reserve game against Canterbury, but he followed it up with 35 not out, strike rate of 219, which was the 3rd highest score for Wellington in that game. Sam Morgan, Tommy Blundell, Oscar Jackson scoring the bulk of the runs for Wellington right there. But Oscar Jackson, he's also an all-rounder. And he took 1 wicket at 9.3 RPO in the Hagley game against Canterbury, and that came after he took 2 wickets at 6.3 RPO in the Basin Reserve game against Canterbury. He dismissed Harry Chamberlain, top of the order, as well as Michael Rippon. All these cricketers, it's not just the depth, right? It's the way these dudes are playing cricket. And Oscar Jackson, he is hitting easy mahi boundaries, and he's got his own style of bowling, which can look a little bit weird with his run-up and how he operates, but he bowls much faster than he looks like he should. The ball he got Chamberlain in that first game against Canterbury, just climbing off a length, hurried him up, and he looks to be bowling quicker than many would expect Oscar Jackson to bowl, but he's also batting in their middle order. So this is he was batting 6 for Wellington in their most recent game. We got a lot of these dudes around Aotearoa as well. We need to add Oscar Jackson to the fabulous group of all-rounders who are doing good stuff in men's domestic cricket. Cameron Paul hasn't been in great form recently, but he's got that talent. Your Zach Folkses, your Simon Keens, your Jock McKenzies, your Christian Clarks, Luke Georgeson down south. Whew. These dudes are all very talented seam bowling all-rounders, and we've seen Oscar Jackson impact winning games. He had that duck in the first game against Canterbury, but he took 2 wickets. Then he finished off the innings and took a wicket. Who was his wicket? Leo Carter. In the second game against Canterbury. So he's offering winning mahi for Wellington as well. Funnily enough, you add Sam Morgan, you add Oscar Jackson, then Wellington start to win games. So that's a very interesting wrinkle there for Wellington. And while on the topic, like another dude we need to talk about is Lachlan Harper. He took 4 wickets at 4.2 RPO in that game against Canterbury. Couldn't score many runs. He's a highly effective all-rounder as well. And not only do Canterbury have Cameron Paul and Lachlan Harper as 2 rising all-rounders, but they also gave Raunak Kapua his Super Smash debut. I think he played a bit of Ford Trophy off-spinner for Canterbury, who may have been selected ahead of Michael Rippon, which is an interesting little selection thingy-majig there. Very tricky spinner. He's got all the variations. He's tall, he's accurate, and he is someone to watch out for on the rise in the Canterbury system. I also like the work of James Hartshorn. Seems to be bowling pretty quick for Wellington, not as quick as Ben Sears, maybe a bit quicker than Oscar Jackson. Hartshorn, Jackson, and Sears all have wickets relative to their games. Like Hartshorn's got 6 wickets in 4 games, Jackson has 3 wickets in 3 games, Sears has 15 wickets in 9 games. They're all averaging below 18. They all have strike rates of 12. That's a very funky group of Wellington seamers that I haven't really talked too much about. And then, of course, Yaya Zeb was playing the early rounds of Super Smash, but maybe he's injured, but they've got Hartshorn, Jackson, and Sears leading their seam bowling unit now with Wellington for 2 wins against Canterbury. Then we go to Northern Districts. And Northern Districts are a funky team. Obviously, the men's team, you got fantastic hitters. Carter Clark, Scott Kugelline, Rob O'Donnell, Brett Hampton, all have over 100 runs with strike rates over 170. Xavier Bell also has 100 plus runs. He's got a strike rate of 139. That's all good stuff there. But the main thing about Northern brave men, aside from Matt Fisher, who didn't play that win against Auckland, but you got Tim Pringle and Zach Gibson, 2 not necessarily young cricketers, because Hartshorn and Gibson are in their mid to late 20s, but haven't played a whole lot of domestic cricket as their seam bowlers, and seam bowlers do get injured. Like, that's not like a doom and gloom black caps. Why do all the black cap seamers get injured? No, all seamers get injured. We've seen it in the Cricket Cartel series most recently. Seamers get injured. So all you need to do is have lots of seamers, and that's what Aotearoa has. We have lots of seamers. And Northern beat Auckland with Scott Kugelheim 4 wickets. He's basically Northern's best bowler, but they also had Tim Pringle 3 wickets of 4 RPO and Zach Gibson 1 wicket at 4 RPO. The most funky thing about these 2 bowlers is that they are among Northern's best bowlers across all formats this season. So Zach Gibson, who, to the best of my knowledge, he's from Te Awa Mutu, which is also where Christian Clark is from, and Zach Gibson is the cousin of Jake Gibson, who's playing for Southern. Gibson has the lowest averages for Northern in Super Smash and Ford Trophy, as well as the lowest bowling average for Northern, second lowest, in Plunkett Shield. So the average is most important there because he hasn't played every game, but when he is playing, he's bowling well. He's got 6 wickets at an average of 12 in the Super Smash, 5 wickets at an average of 18 in Ford Trophy, and 7 wickets at 27 in the Plunkett Shield. He's got an excellent T20 average, 24.8, and he's averaging over 35 in first class and list day bowling. So he's working through the formats, but those higher averages in his career are dropping because of his excellent work in Plunkett Shield and Ford Trophy this season. As I said, he's top 2 for bowling averages at Northern in every format this season. He's bowling with a bit of zip, he's got a bit of movement, he's a tall seamer, just another seamer doing well in domestic cricket. But there's this dude, Tim Pringle, who is, he's second overall for Plunkett Shield wickets this season, 19 wickets, averaging 25. And he's tied for the most Ford Trophy wickets at Northern and second for Super Smash wickets at Northern. So he's obviously the leading wicket taker for Northern in Plunkett Shield, which means Tim Pringle, lefty spinner, Netherlands international, who, let me get his age, he's early 20s, 23, 24, what do we got? 23 years old. He is top 2 for wickets for Northern Districts in each format this season. And obviously he's a lefty spinner, and we talked last week about the lefty spinner depth in Aotearoa fresh off the Jaden Lennox ODI series in India. is Jaden Lennox like the best thing about Jaden Lennox is his experience and his craft, thanks to that experience. But I don't think we can definitively say that Jaden Lennox is a better lefty spinner than Tim Pringle, because Tim Pringle is a Netherlands international. He has played international cricket as well, and across the formats this season, Tim Pringle has been just as good, if not better, than Jaden Lennox. Neither of them have been as good as Auckland's Rohit Gulati, who is the leading wicket taker in Plunkett Shield. It's Gulati then Pringle. But this is to say that Tim Pringle is on the radar and he's in good form. He didn't take a wicket in his 2 games before the win against Northern Districts. And he also scored a few runs, 21 runs, strike rate of 262. Which means that Tim Pringle Super Smash, 42 runs, strike rate of 123, which is all right for his role. And he doesn't have a great batting record overall in his career, but that will be on the improve as he plays a lot more cricket. T20 bowling is Pringle's best format. T20 internationals for Netherlands, averaging 25, and T20s overall 24.8, which makes his Plunkett Shield mahi especially very interesting because he's flexing out into the other formats with Northern, and he is their main spinner right now, so you can expect him to keep being first 11 in each format. Then we go over to the women's side. We did have Hannah Francis take 3 wickets for Wellington in their win against Canterbury yesterday, and they were crucial wickets. She had Kate Anderson, Izzy Sharp, who else? Lauren Bell, maybe? Lauren Smith, no. Leah Tahuhu, Kate Anderson, Izzy Sharp, Leah Tahuhu, all of whom had faced at least 10 deliveries before being dismissed by Hannah Francis. She finished with 3 wickets at 4.5 RPO. Hasn't been a great season for Hannah Francis, but she is a youngster who has already scored a HBJ century and 2 50s in HBJ Shield at 19 years old. None of which happened this season, and she hasn't been in great form for Wellington in HBJ Shield or Super Smash. Super Smash, for example, she's the only middle lower order batter for Wellington who has a strike rate below 100, 75 runs, averaging 15.95 strike rate. And she took her first Super Smash wickets in this game against Canterbury, but she's played all 10 games this season. So she hasn't, and her HBJ Shield mahi was fairly similar, averaging below 20 and like maybe 50 with the ball, but she has already performed at the domestic level for Wellington. Century, 2 50s, I think those came last summer when she was 18 years old maybe, or just turned 19. So her winning performance against Canterbury was very interesting because she finally had a performance of substance in that Wellington team. And one other funky thing about Wellington is just the players who, like, if Wellington do get another international player back, or maybe Amelia Kerr just pops back somehow, I don't know the logistics because I don't care, but if Wellington do add a big Donny to their team, players like some players will drop out. Maybe it's Hannah Francis, maybe it's Sam McKinder, maybe it's Natasha Kodaya, maybe it's Isla McKenzie. Those players will be the players to drop out, but if they don't add another player, those are the players who will stay in the team. So someone like Sam McKinder, who's only got 38 runs, but she's got a strike rate of 127, which is higher than Jess Kerr's strike rate. And players like Hannah Francis, it'll be very interesting to see how they perform in finals cricket if they make it through the finals and continue their Super Smash dynasty, because Wellington Blaze have been the dynastic Super Smash team, men's and women's, over the past 10 years. And yes, they do have the Amelia Kerrs, Elise Perry's, Maitland Brown, who all have been excellent for Wellington. They could get another overseas international player just for finals. But the best thing about Wellington Blaze is how their hearty Blazers, Zara Jetley, Nicole Beard, Jess Kerr, Georgia Plummer, Rebecca Burns, Jess McFadden, how they perform consistently, and then who of the emerging players steps up. I think it might be a Sam McKinder, Hannah Francis, and also Jess Simmons, because she's got 54 run strike rate of 138, and she's one of their faster seamers, hasn't been dominant in Super Smash just yet, 4 wickets at 33, but Jess Simmons has the potential to do that because she also hit 24 run strike rate of 104, second highest score for Wellington in that game against Canterbury. And she didn't take a wicket in that game, but I am very interested in how that group of Wellington Blaze players operate in Super Smash finals, as well as Northern Brave, Northern Districts. They, in their win against Auckland, epic win. This is the beautiful thing about Super Smash, is just how awesome these games of cricket are. Northern were struggling in their run chase until it got down to Kayleen Knight, Sky Bowden, and Marama Downs, who Marama Downs hit the winning run. She hit a 4 down the ground to seal the win. Sky Bowden, 17 not out, strike rate of 106. Kayleen Knight, 18 run, strike rate of 95. Northern won that game because of how their bowlers batted. But the bowlers also did well with the ball. Marama Downs, 1 wicket, 5.7 RPO. Kaylee Knight, 2 wickets, 5.2 RPO. Sky Bowden didn't take a wicket, but she was tidy, 7.5 RPO. And can't forget or overlook Lucy Boucher, who didn't play in that game, but she is tied for second with Northern wickets. So these are the Northern seamers. They're 3 seamers, except for Bowden, who hasn't taken a wicket. Marama Downs, 13 wickets at 11.7. Lucy Boucher, 8 wickets at 15.8. Kayleen Knight, 8 wickets at 19.2. Lucy Boucher is part of that group, but she wasn't playing against Auckland. I want her in the first 11, especially because you can bump Kayleen Knight up the order. Sky Bowden is a very good batter. I think I wrote on the website, thenichecache.com, that Bowden is the only one of this group who is, she's averaging over 10. No, Marama Downs is the only batter in this group who averages over 10 in both formats, one day and T20 cricket, but she's batting 11 because Bowden's pretty good with the bat. And Kaylee Knight is excellent with the bat. Kaylee Knight is averaging 20.7, strike rate of 130, 83 runs. Bowden was very tidy in her match-winning innings earlier the week for Northern Districts. Solid, average 19, strike rate of 95. And Downs, as I said, her batting is underestimated given that she is batting 11. I think you can bump those players up the order a little bit and also bring in Lucy Boucher to add to the bowling department. And all of them have been really good in the HBJ Shield as well. I think Kaylee Knight is their best bowler in HBJ Shield, which means Kaylee Knight is their best bowler both formats, maybe, because Marama Downs will have something to say about that. But just quickly going into the HBJ Shield, Knight, leading wicket taker, 13 wickets, 11.6 average. Lucy Boucher, 7 wickets, averaging 14. Marama Downs, 5 wickets, averaging 30. And Sky Bowden's only played 3 games, hasn't bowled. So Sky Bowden doesn't have a wicket, but she is one of the best batters in that bowling unit for Northern Brave. If you do have Downs, Knight, Bowden, and Boucher, that is a seam bowling group that I think is just as useful, especially with their batting ability, as the Auckland seamers, where it's Molly Penfold, Bree Illing, Josie Penfold, and Amy Hucker. So you've got these kind of clusters of really good seam bowlers, but I think the funky thing for Northern is how those seam bowlers bat. And the funky thing about how Northern is building their team is that Jess Watkin and Nancy Patel have been excellent with the ball as spinners. Both have 7 wickets, averaging below 25, conceding less than 7 RPO. Watkin, Gurry, Walland, and Wakeland, which is their top 4, they all have 50 plus scores. So you've got a nice spread of batting. Like, their batting isn't awesome, Northern, but you do have variety in who's scoring their runs. You got excellent bowlers who can bat a bit, and you've still got a few options on how to build your best first 11. I think Northern are a pretty funky team, and obviously fair amount of White Ferns potential there. Most notably, I think Kaylee Knight. She's bowling quick. She's an excellent batter. She's a really good cricketer. But also Marama Downs can't be overlooked because she has consistent nibble as one of the most nibbliest seamers in Aotearoa. And if you're just nibbling the ball all over the show, it doesn't really matter how fast you're bowling because you're going to be bloody hard to score off. And the amount of times Marama Downs gets bowled, LBWs, is tremendous. And she also just scored the winning runs against Auckland. One last thing for women's cricket in Aotearoa is Stella Cornelius, who is a lefty seamer for Canterbury, and she has had a pretty solid start to her career. She has played HBJ Shield for Canterbury this season. She took wickets in her first game, 2 wickets in her first game, no wickets in her second game, 1 wicket in her third game of HBJ Shield, and now she has 1 wicket in each of her first 3 games of Super Smash, 3 wickets averaging 25. This means that we've got 2 lefty seamers on the domestic circuit, with Stella Cornelius coming into that Canterbury team, as well as Bree Illing, who is an excellent seamer. I think she's going to play a lot of White Ferns cricket over the next 12 months. I've got Bree Illing as a first 11 White Ferns bowler because she's good and because she's a lefty. But we've also got Stella Cornelius doing some lefty seam stuff as well. Flora Devonshire, PJ Watkins offering lefty spin. Flora Devonshire is a lefty batter. Brooke Halliday's a lefty batter. So there is what was once a rarity in women's cricket in Aotearoa. We're now building up a few more lefties, lefty spinners, lefty seamers, and lefty batters, which is only going to help White Ferns, and also bowling to a lefty batter, facing a lefty seamer for everyone else. Big up to you. Lots of Kiwi cricket chat there. Do your best. Cowabunga. Talofa lava. Cheers.